Good afternoon, everyone. Can you kindly find your seat, please? We're about to begin.
All right.
All right, so everyone, can you kindly stand for the national anthem, please? Can you also place all phones on silent? Thank you. Please be seated. My name is Tony Jean Lawson, executive at the Amber Group, and it is my honor to welcome you to this panel discussion. It is a pleasure to acknowledge and welcome the presence of Senator the Honorable Dr. Dana Dixon, Minister of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, Senator Peter Bunting, Shadow Minister of National Security, Ambassador Deshant Savaria, Special Investments Envoy for Technology and founder and CEO of the Amber Group, Mr. Keith Duncan, Group CEO of JMMB and co-chair of Project STAR, Ms. Nikisha Burchell, Shadow Spokesperson for Information and Public Communication, Mr. Miguel Williams, Community Development Manager for Digicel Foundation, Mr. Giovanni Byfield, Junior Spokesperson for Citizen Security and Productivity, Dr. Ren Nyasha Blake, Data Manager, Scientist for Minister of National Security, distinguished guest, virtual audience, and members of the media, good afternoon. Today we come together with a shared commitment to exploring innovative and effective strategies for crime prevention, as well as a workable solution for community development. This gathering brings together a diverse group of thought leaders and advocates who are dedicated to driving meaningful change in our society. This event would not have been possible without our host and main sponsor, the Amber Group, whose dedication to innovation, social impact, and community empowerment has brought us together in pursuit of a better future. The Amber Group, founded in 2015, is a global technology company headquartered right here in Jamaica, and it is dedicated to innovation, digital transformation, and social impact. They provide cutting-edge solutions in cybersecurity, software development, and education technology. Beyond these innovations, they invest in initiatives like the Amber Heart Academy and maintain strategic partnership with the government of Jamaica, empowering thousands of young Jamaicans through skill building and employment opportunities. Under the visionary leadership of Ambassador Deshant Savaria, The Amber Group remains committed to sharing positive social change. Now, before we begin, let's take a brief moment to view a video showcasing the Amber's vision and impactful work that they have done so far. Thank you, and once again, welcome.
From the heart of Jamaica emerges a force, transforming lives globally. The Amber Group. Starting from a humble office of just 200 square feet in 2015, Amber Group has grown into a global powerhouse, spanning over 13 businesses, with offices around the world, serving clients in 100 countries. We are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. The diversity of our team is what fuels the innovation. Imagine your vehicle safer and smarter with Amber Connect, the world's most advanced AI-powered vehicle tracking and fleet management system. Experience cutting-edge software development, crafting solutions across industries worldwide with Amber innovations. Fuel up with a new level of convenience with Amber Fuels. Make fast, secure, and seamless payments with Amber Pay. We empower the next generation, providing free world-class coding education through the Amber Academy. Nurturing the future of Jamaican entrepreneurship, committed to fund 100 startups in 1,000 days with Amber Launchpad. Take to the skies and discover unparalleled freedom with Amber Aviation. Discover the joy of exceptional rewards with Amber Rewards. Safeguard your digital world with Amber Cyber Eye. Pioneering IoT solutions with Amber IoT. Revolutionizing media with nationwide news network and Amber Radio. Effortlessly get a ride and feel safe and secure on the road with Amber On Time, the most secure taxi. We believe in the power of technology to uplift humanity, to make lives safer, easier, and more connected. Empower. Innovate. Inspire. Celebrating 9 years of innovation, passion, and commitment to humanity. Discover the Amber difference today.
Amber Group. More than a business, we built an organization to serve humanity.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I'd like to note that this event is being live streamed on the Art of Living Jamaica social media platforms, and it is being watched by over 10 million people worldwide, so let's give them a show. Now, let me welcome Ambassador Deshant Savadia, who will be our moderator for this event. Let's give him a hand, everyone. Thank you.
Very good afternoon, everybody. No. We can't start a panel discussion with such a low-pitched good afternoon. Good afternoon, Jamaica. Remember, like Tony said, this event is watched by millions of people around the world. It has been broadcasted live through the Art of Living channels all over the world. So it's a lot of people watching us today and watching what Jamaica, with its own experience, can give back to the world, a gift of what is possible to reduce crime and reduce stress in our societies. So, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I want to again give my warm welcome to all the panelists, all the persons who have taken time to come. We have a bus of another 50 people. They're on their way. And we will welcome them as they come. And we also have Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. He will be here in a short order as well. He just arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport. So he's on his way already. He's in the car. So he should be here anytime soon. Before we go ahead and before he arrives, I would like us to watch a quick video about the work and life of Sri Ravi Shankar, who's our keynote speaker today. It's a short video of 4 minutes, and after which we'll begin the first panel straight away. The video, please. Thank you.
In an era where the world is torn between aggression and depression, a child was born who, at the age of 4, astonished his teachers by reciting the Bhagavad Gita. From a young age, he was found in deep meditation. He would say, "I have family everywhere. People are waiting for me." After completing his education, he began traveling the world, reviving ancient knowledge and imparting spiritual wisdom. And then, in the winter of 1981 in a place called Shimoga. He went into a period of silence, during which the Sudarshan Kriya was revealed to him. The most powerful breathing technique that relieves stress and creates emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Gurudev began traveling across the world, teaching this knowledge, and so the art of living was born. Under his guidance, the organization has grown to have its presence in 180 countries, with over 35,000 teachers who have spread the benefits of Sudarshan Kriya to millions across the globe. He has designed 57 unique programs that cater to every section of society.
The only thing I'm proud of, I have very dedicated, committed volunteers all over the world. They carry on the work.
His programs have not just created inner well-being and peace, it has empowered hundreds and thousands of volunteers to make the world a better place. At the age of 24, with what began as Gurudev taking responsibility for the education and care of 180 children, has grown into over 1,200 free schools. Gurudev founded the Rural Development Program to empower rural communities globally. The Youth Leadership Training Program has transformed rural youth from across the globe into leaders of social and economic change.
If you see through my eyes, I don't see any bad people per se on earth. The people whom we call as culprits of heinous crimes, there is a victim crying for help inside of them.
Art of Living's prison program has transformed the lives of over 800,000 prisoners world over. The Yes for Schools program in the United States has saved many at-risk inner-city youth from a life of crime. Project Welcome Home Troops has helped war veterans by healing the unseen wounds of war. 94% of these veterans reported increased levels of peace and decreased stress and anxiety. Whether man-made disasters or natural calamities, Art of Living's vast global network.
Can we resume the video? It paused. Okay. So the pause was from the video editors. But just to conclude what the rest of the video was, Art of Living has also done, as you can see, tremendous amount of work in 183 countries. Art of Living has impacted lives of more than 500 million people all over the world. It's a humongous effort by any standards for one organization to reach so many millions of people from all walks of life, to give this kind of a support and service. So, of course, in a few minutes, Sri will be here, but we will get the panel started in the meantime. But also to conclude about Sri Ravi Shankar, Art of Living also has hosted so many World Culture Festivals in the last 20 years. The largest one, which was the 4th edition, was in Washington, D.C. just last year, which had 1 million people on the Washington Mall together in one place. And it showcased the largest World Culture Festival. And prior to that, it was in Delhi, in India, where 3.7 million people gathered from 150 countries from all over the world in a single arena for 3 consecutive days. So Sri Ravi Shankar has been a tremendous contributor to the society all over the world. On this short visit to Jamaica, we're very grateful that he took time to come to Jamaica for us, but also at the same time, he is doing quite a few very, very great, good events in Jamaica. He's also going to the Tower Street prison tomorrow and meeting and addressing all the inmates. I want to acknowledge Minister Bunting. About 10 years ago, he opened the doors for the Art of Living to go into the prison system. And we taught nearly 3,000 inmates in the prisons in Jamaica about 8-9 years ago. And the work still continues. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I would like Tony to name all the panelists and get us started. I want to make sure I don't move because the stage is short.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So for the first panel discussion, we have Senator Peter Bunting, we have Nikisha Burchell, Miguel Williams, and Giovanni Byfield.
Okay, so let's have a round of applause for our first panelists. Thank you very much for taking time and coming for this event. It is an important, significant event for Jamaica because we know crime has been an issue for decades in this country, and now is the time when all of us together, government, opposition, the NGOs, everybody has to work together now to solve this humanitarian crisis that we've been facing in Jamaica for many decades now. And first of all, thank you, all of you, to be here. And I want to start with Senator Bunting first. Can you give us 2 minutes about your own experience around the national? You've been a shadow minister of national security. You've been the national security minister before. In your experience, where is Jamaica today?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dushyant. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a long journey. I've been almost now, 16 years as either shadow minister or minister of national security, covering it one way or the other. And I was reminded a couple evenings ago when Prime Minister Mia Mottley gave the centenary lecture, the lecture celebrating the centenary anniversary of the birth of Michael Manley. And she kept referring to his sort of most popular statement, the word is love. And it really centered for me the approach that he and my party and myself as one of his mentees have always taken, that central to public policy and programs must be care and respect for the people. So that informed our approach to national security or citizen security, public safety. We don't look on people, who commit heinous crimes as being some subhuman species. We take it from the perspective of there but for the grace of God go I. And therefore, while we all need the security forces and the crime control side of citizen security and public safety, the more important and ultimately for sustained success, the crime prevention is the key. Through intervention at a number of levels. And if I would just use 1 minute to introduce a program concept that we started called Unite for Change program, where we understood that crime prevention was a whole of society problem. In fact, the approach was inspired by a conference I went to of cities in the United States struggling with some of the same violence issues we were. And I noticed that their leadership was from the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. The leaders at this conference, because they were taking the epidemiological approach to fighting violence. And so we incorporated that into our policy in starting this whole Unite for Change initiative, which had not only multi-sector in terms of government agencies, but we partnered with private sector, we partnered with faith-based organizations, and we really started a movement. We recognized that we had not just to intervene with young people, but we had to intervene with persons who were incarcerated, the vast majority who would have been back on the roads within 4 years when we did the analysis of the data. And therefore it showed that there was no point dehumanizing people for 4 years and then putting them back out into the communities because you would only get recidivism, etc. So that informed our whole approach. And as you know, we encouraged a lot of work in prisons. We encouraged a lot of work in schools, in the toughest communities. And I'm proud to say that right here, some of the people who worked with us in building that, Nikisha beside me, Patricia, who is in the audience, and then Dr. Ward, who was for the Violence Prevention Alliance. And indeed, the successor to the Unite for Change program is Project STAR, and Keith Duncan as co-chair and founder is here. So in a sense, the longevity of the initiative tells me that it was an innovative initiative and that it is certainly one that we would encourage partnership around and proceeding along those lines.
Senator Bunting, the biggest question, I think what we are facing in Jamaica, there are a lot of youths who tend to go towards crime versus finding alternative good employment, civil employment, and employment that can rightfully give them a good citizenship experience. Now, how do we break the cycle when there are so many youths in Jamaica who are either unemployed or underemployed or just by choice naturally want to default into crime? How do we break the cycle?
Well, again, following the epidemiological approach, the final stage is changing social norms. So when we had the design document, which I just refreshed myself on this morning, we drew a pyramid. At the base of the pyramid was the whole society. And you needed to work on a whole society basis through a mass communication as well as a community level communication program, changing the norms, the dysfunctional norms that generated legitimacy for criminal activity, for example, that encouraged people that inform of the dead, and all these negatives. So changing social norms was at the base of the pyramid. That's where we wanted to apply it to the entire society. Then at the next level, we had primary intervention, where at, say, a high school level, a grade 7 level, you would have a school-wide positive behavioral intervention support to, in a sense, re-socialize those who weren't positively socialized at home. Then there was a secondary intervention for those youth who were at risk and maybe not yet involved in criminal activity, but at serious risk and on the margins of gangs, for example. And then there was, of course, the tertiary interventions, which might have needed psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, or even law enforcement to deal with that very small percentage.
Thank you. I'm going to call you Step Up because that's how Jamaica knows you. Stepper, in communities where the job market is limited, how can we encourage entrepreneurship and vocational training for crime prevention measures?
That's interesting, Give thanks for the moment. Because, the idea is that employment is needed, and with more employment and youths being employed, it may well reduce, that channel to criminal activity. And yes, it may, a youth can eat a food and get a money, but not just any job, jobs that are consistent, not necessarily just a laborer type of engagement, skilled vocational things. And we've seen them work, in communities, mapping up the spaces and see what are the economics on the ground. And you may go in a community and you may look and you see that bamboo is the thriving thing. You can say, okay, how do we evolve a bamboo industry in here or something like that, And there's the channel of how youth get employed. There is the on and off of it, getting them skills training. And then there is, I think you probably mentioned, there's the average youth who don't necessarily want to do anything. I think when you do this type of work, it's not necessarily to always try to get, 100% result in reality, because it's consistent. It's really how you deter it. But I think there are things that have worked CBOs in communities, NGOs on the ground have implemented training programs. Heart has been on the ground. I think it is how we amplify these programs and continued investment. You know, because the thing is social intervention, but you're really intervening socially because there's a gap somewhere there. So while we intervene socially, we must also pay attention to that element that ought to be more funded and more grounded and more consistent, so that the interventions are less, you know, in terms of creating job employment.
Step up. There is a saying that hungry stomach is an angry mind.
Yeah.
An angry mind creates aggression. Aggression leads to violence. When we live in a society where there are fundamental basic needs are still a struggle, where I know some section of many parts of the world even struggle to buy toothpaste for the day. Now, how do you create crime preventive measures? What social interventions can we do when the basics are not even met?
Hey, you know, Dushan is very serious, you know. My experience on the ground is the hungry man, him can't even move to go commit no crime. You know, the hungry man. A lot of criminals and the criminal elements these days are well fed, you know. So it's part of it. I'm not negating from the reality of hungry mouth and the need to want something to go for and say, boy, I mean, I go for this, I'm going to rob or that. A lot of the criminal elements are so funded and organized these days. But to say the least, it's very important that in the context of communities, the cultures have grown in communities. I think that if you have been around and doing it, we have been working consistently in certain type of communities. We have seen young people are in different programs, serial programs. You know, they are in this program, then they are in that program. And the other day I went to a program and I said to someone, a young man there, I said to him that, listen man, don't feel like you're failing if you find that you are going in different programs. It's only your journey that you are on, you know. And one thing I say, and I will try to say this, in the other day I'm fully focused now on how we work with youth in probation spaces. Sometimes people are all over the place. The probation spaces show you the youth who are coming into conflict with the law. That area needs some focus. You nip it right there. Equally so, at Digicel Foundation now, I'm so proud of our project with the Ministry of National Security, with the South Camp facility, to provide some funding with the training for the girls at South Camp with heart, etc. I say this to say, programs in those spaces, it's very important. But the youths are now going back into the same communities, the same household, the same stress and pressure. So while social intervention is happening, some social program are happening in these communities to transform what they are going back into. There needs to be a mapping when they exit the spaces. Where do they go? What do they connect to? You know, the NGOs on the ground and stuff, you know.
Stepa, I've personally interacted with more than 3,000 inmates myself. I was in the prison for almost 2 years.
Yeah. What were you charged with?
Not that way. I was just about to clarify that very quickly.
Sorry.
I was a regular in and out person on a daily basis. I spent almost 2 years teaching the Art of Living program to the inmates. And one of the things I realized when you talk to these inmates who have done some heinous crimes, and you ask them, why did you do it? And the answer is, well, I don't know what happened to my head. I have no idea why I did it. Now, going back to you, Siobhan, there is this perception that criminals either are absolutely masterminded or they do it out of one lack of judgment in life. But we incarcerate both of them the same way. What are your thoughts about it?
Thank you. What I think is that a lot of times we tend to overlook a bad person in society. So we see the behavior, we see it early, and we allow that to fester into them becoming, you know, criminal minds, or masterminds at their craft, which is criminality. And what I think we need to do as a society, as a government, is to find these individuals, go into the communities and find them. All right. As a former crime fighter, I would say this. between the years of 2000 and 2015, the main producers of crime, they were between the ages of 30 and 45 years old. Wow. When you look at the wanted list today from the JCF website, the main producers of crime, they are between the ages of 14 and 25 years old. So it means that between 2015 and 2024 now, we did nothing to grab that sector of youths and to change their mindset from crime and violence. And technology, if you look just over the last few weeks, you see where, because technology is very important in crime fighting, and you see where on TikTok nowadays persons are doing crime, publicly. And how do we now reach a stage where we educate these youths to bring their minds away from crime? So it requires going into the community, having public forums like this, but not with persons of our caliber. Bring them into forums like this so that they understand what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get in terms of making Jamaica a safer place.
Thank you. And a follow-up question, Senator Bunting, to you. It's a global phenomena that we do not include mental wellness. We do not include the need of a healthy mind in our curriculum. In fact, in our entire education system, we never ever teach how to handle negative emotions. Now, I remember when I was 10 years old, young, my mother would angrily tell me not to be angry. And that never helped, because then I didn't know how to manage anger from childhood. What do you think is the importance of mental wellness? How do we inculcate these practices right from early education? What are your thoughts about this?
Well, it's interesting. We worked with Professor Freddie Hickling, who was, I think, the head of psychiatry at the university at one point, but had done vast work with school-age kids, as well as with persons in community who were violent. And I can't remember the exact percentage now, but there was quite a high percentage of violent incidents which were rooted in a mental disorder. And you also said another thing in the prison, how people would say they would just do something and like they lost their mind briefly or whatever, and then they committed a crime and now they're here for the rest of their lives or whatever. It was interesting also when we mined the data that 50% of the prison population were illiterate. And what we found is that a lot of them were there not necessarily for murder, but for assault, for grievous bodily harm or whatever. They started an argument in language, and then they ran out of words and became...
We'll take a quick pause. We have Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar in... Welcome, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Welcome. The Senator Peter Bunting. That's Nikisha. And that's Stepper on the other side, the panelist. And Shaman. Thank you, Gurudev, for joining us. We've been eagerly waiting for you. And welcome to Jamaica, Gurudev. Give Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar a big applause and welcome him to Jamaica, please. So, Peter, I would allow you to finish what you were saying. We were speaking, Gurudev, about the mental wellness that has taken not so much of a front seat worldwide still in terms of cultivating the early adoption of mental wellness in schools, into colleges, and aim at resolving these mental issues that children face today, not able to handle their negative emotions. How early, as ministers and people who have been involved in handling the country's charge, look at it, Peter?
So, again, to complete the thought, a lack of impulse control was often at the root of violent incidents. And one of the things we did, and I would ask Nikisha to expand on this, we created interventions where we would go into schools, where we would go in communities. We would engage with things like popular music to get their attention first, and then create skits that would encourage them to talk it out rather than fight it out. When we went into prisons, because like yourself, I actually volunteered in various educational programs within the prisons, in Spanish Town in particular. And I found that there were persons there, brigadier, for example. There was one gentleman who had been a sergeant in the JDF and had lived an exemplary life, committed one violent incident, then spent the rest of his life in prison, living an exemplary life, teaching other prisoners, etc., etc. So impulse control is very, very important in preventing people from ending up in the justice system. And that is not necessarily natural. It has to be taught and learned and practiced. And I think that's one of the benefits from your intervention back in the day in the Tower Street.
Thank you. Nikisha, going back to you, we have this urge as a country that the education system should incorporate more life skills, more conflict resolution, ethical decision making. Do you think this is a big deterrence for crime activities, criminal activities?
Of course, every little thing will help, right? But I just wanted to say something on what Peter mentioned just now, because a part of the clear, hold and build strategy that the JCF and law enforcement use to control a space, the third element is where I find joy. I find we get a lot of success when we're able to look at the behaviors, the general behavioral norms, and see how we can fix those. That's not a one-day fix, a two-day fix, a three-day fix. It takes years in some instances, and Project STAR can tell you quite a bit about that. But what we try to do with Unite for Change, and we're hoping that that can continue through projects like Project STAR and what the ministry is doing, is that we spoke the language of the people. We looked at a campaign, Two is Better Than Too Many, which was very successful at controlling our birth rate. We tried to take the lessons from that. We targeted the persons who were perpetrating the crimes. We targeted the persons who were victims, usually of crime. And we found those voices that they respected in the space and used those to deliver the message. So yes, if we are to bring those programs into the school, we could see results. But that has to be something that Minister Morris will have to craft carefully to ensure that those who will be receiving the teaching actually find it interesting. And that is the only way we can change group norms for the better.
Thank you. Gurudev, I have a question for you. How do you think, you've got phenomenal global experience with so much of conflict resolution you have done all over the world. Art of Living is in 183 countries with millions and millions of people impacted. With your experience, how can teachers, mentors, counselors identify the needs of the student and give them early intervention and guide them towards positive alternatives?
It's very simple. The problem stares on your face. You don't have to make an effort to identify. The first thing is attention deficiency. And you are saying something in the classroom and there is nobody listening. The mind is simply not there. Classrooms are supposed to be 40 minutes. And the reason that it was fixed at 40 minutes some 50 years back, half a century back, was our attention span was only 40 minutes then. And today, it's 30 seconds. So with the bombardment of so much technology and then the stimulate to the brain is so tired. And when you are so tired and you are susceptible to all sorts of negative reactions. And so we need to attend to this aspect of giving them deeper relaxation, making them have more fun, and the knowledge or whatever we need to teach has to teach in a way that it's a hands-on thing where they are physically involved in doing something, then that gives a deeper impression and better learning process. I just came late now. My flight just landed. Now I'm just coming direct from the airport, after immigration, customs and all that stuff. But I'm glad you are the esteemed senators and the panel is already discussing on this. And if every country spends a little bit more time on the mental health issues, I think we will definitely have a better society.
Thank you, Gurudev. One more question for you. Jamaica is also seen, like many other countries, where there is a high dropout rate in schools. And these dropout rates also affect the future of the country, because then we are producing less and less bright and intelligent, literate individuals to help shape the country. Are there any models that can be engaged to really engage the at-risk youths and also reduce the future of crime rates in a country?
This is a global issue. See, in India also we had this education system which was more a burden than a process of blossoming for kids. So recently, the government came up with a new education policy. In this, the educationalists around the country from all different parties got together and they designed a new curriculum. See, we are just following in many of these countries, the law syllabus is the same old law syllabus. And if you look at the medical syllabus, it's nothing new. But the society and the knowledge is growing so fast, but we have not matched with that pace of change with our educational systems. Our syllabus is stuck somewhere back. I remember when we were all kids, we had to mug up the multiplication table, right? There was no calculator, there was no computer. We have to memorize everything. And today, kids don't do that. They have everything at their fingertips. In this fast age, we need to give them a much better system of education which doesn't create stress and anxiety in them. Unfortunately, that's what is happening. Students who want to do better, they are suffering from stress, anxiety and sleep issues. And those children who do not care for anything, they simply drop out from the studies. And they go to streets and they think of doing something different. On top of this, from the media, from the entertainment industry, what they learn is being a macho or being a rebel or being violent is heroism. And if heroism gets attached to violence, you can't expect anything else in the society, and young people will move in that direction. We have to steer the whole direction of our youth energy from moving towards that type of, what is happening in Haiti today is something that would stir everybody. You cannot imagine that your children can do such things. And you get older, and what if your children start thinking in those terms? It's simply not possible to continue the way we are continuing with our education, the way we educate our people, or rather not educate our people about our own emotions, our own feelings, and just stuff them as a machine of information. It's not going to work. We have to be more humane. We have to bring up more talents in people. In one way, artificial intelligence is going to challenge the society by compelling an individual to be more creative.
Wow. Absolutely. Thank you, Gurudev. We have time up for the first panel. I want to really thank Nikisha, Senator Bunting, Stepper, and Javon for your time on the stage. Thank you so much for your wonderful insights and inputs. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big hand. And would like to invite the second panelist, Dr. Dana Dixon, Minister of Education. Please.
Applause, please. Thank you. So for the second panelist, we have Senator the Honorable Dr. Dana Dixon. We have Keith Duncan, Group CEO of JMMP. We have Dr. Ren Nyasha Blake, Data Manager and Scientist of Minister of National Security.
Heidi Clark from the Sandals Foundation to join the panel. And let's give a big round of applause to the new panel, panel 2.
Am I going to continue this panel too?
Yes, Gurudev. We will be coming back to you for more feedback from each of these questions from the panel. Minister Dixon, I want to start with you first. How can education system incorporate life skills, conflict resolution, ethical decisions, all of these things that we really need for the children of the modern world to embrace, not just embracing technology. Of course, they learn how to use iPad from as early as 5 years old, but they still are unable to manage their mindset as they grow up. It's having a big impact on the society as a whole. What are your views on this?
Thank you very Working? Yes, it is. All right. Thank you very much, Dushyant, for having me here and having this entire experience here. And Sri, welcome to Jamaica. You're asking some very important questions, and I really enjoyed the panel before, and I really enjoyed the conversation in that panel because it was correct. The direction we were going in the conversation was the right direction. Education, we have to really completely rethink it. And I feel very strongly about that. When you look at even our children in our primary schools and our prep schools and the exams they have to do at the end, they're stressed. They are, they're parents who choose to take their children out of extracurricular activities so that they'll focus on school, what they consider school. But there's much more to the holistic development of a person. And our educational system has to be geared towards that. And so there is more than just the bookwork and learning your math and your English. We also have to be developing people, and people who will be good citizens, and people who will be able to take our country where it needs to go. And so when we look at the syllabus in our schools, and you're very right, we have to look at it in a very different light. Are we developing humans who are going to be able to do big things, and humans who are going to be able to handle the challenges that face them? And to much of an extent, there's just not that in the curriculum at the moment, not enough at the moment. And we're going to have to do more about it. And we also have to understand our children who are coming from less privileged backgrounds. And we have to understand how we've stacked the deck against them. So even just looking at nutrition, many of these children did not get adequate nutrition as babies, as young children, when we know how much brain development takes place before 5. And so when they come to school, they're not even ready mentally for learning because we've not given them proper nutrition for learning. So that's one. We also know, and this is big in Jamaica, that many of our children, and even our people, are suffering from trauma. There's a whole lot of trauma in this country. You see it in the children. When you speak to the children, they're talking about the violence they saw, the gunshots they heard, the violence that's not just in the community, but even in the home. And they are carrying that with them. And they're coming to school with that. And we have to understand that we need to include in the curriculum ways to deal with that trauma, because it is very unresolved in our country. And a lot of the crime that we see links straight back to us as a people dealing with trauma.
Thank you. Gurudev, a question for you. Social media, as much as it has a positive influence, it's become a source of information, but at the same time a source of destruction. So many children playing violent video games, which are so easily available on the internet. So many youths looking at what is on the internet and trying to replicate all the unhealthy behaviors in the society. While internet is so pervasive in our life and it is also spreading good information, but it is also a huge source of misinformation to the youths. How do we balance? What do we do in this scenario?
As Honorable Minister has said, we have to protect the young brains from getting bombarded by these viruses of violence. It is very necessary because it's a very impressionable age. Like, you don't take kids to adult movies. There are certain restrictions we have been putting on what the children should be exposed and what they should not be. And that is very necessary, especially with the internet and gadgets. When kids get addicted to gadgets, screens, especially, it is affecting their autonomous nervous system. And they're unable to walk, they're unable to think, they're unable to function normally. Gadgets are there for make us comfortable, not make our life miserable. We need to use it and we need to see how much we can, expose those sort of things to our kids. There is an ethical line there, what content should be put out, what should not be put out. Now countries around the globe are waking up. Australia has already woken up, and it's being done in Japan and to some extent in India. So we need to do some sort of censorship, especially when it comes to kids' access to these sort of things. That's very, very necessary, I would say. Technology by itself, social media by itself is no bad. It's necessary, it's good, it has done a lot of good to people. But the dangers of it affecting the young minds, one has to take care.
Thank you, Gurudev. Heidi, I want to ask you a question. Sandals Foundation has been a very integrated part of the society for decades now, starting with late Wood Stewart, and then even Adam Stewart is as passionate about giving back to the community, and I know for sure Sandals Foundation has done a lot of good work. I want to ask you a question, that while we are going into communities with aid, with help, with assistance, after doing all of these things, are we really able to identify and support the real individuals who are at risk? Are we able to find them as a society?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me here. We have been doing work in the communities for over 40 years through the Sandals Company and then now through Sandals Foundation, and of course having incredible partners that we work alongside. Are we able to find those individuals? Yes. I think that there are so many things that are happening across the region. So we work from the Eastern Caribbean, of course, to the Northern Caribbean. There are grassroots organizations that have been out there and making things happen and know what is happening on the ground. So for us, it's always been about not going in and reinventing the wheel. It's about finding those partners on the ground that have their boots there, that can help us to identify those needs. And then to seeing where the programs work and then being able to scale them up. So whether we're working in the prisons, which we're doing here in Jamaica, looking at education and ensuring that those that are coming out have that opportunity, they're not the forgotten ones, or whether we're in schools and we're meeting the young people where they are. So we're looking at where are their interests. It's music, it's sports, but we have those opportunities when they're interested to then target them and mentor them. So I think it's about partnering with the right people to be able to identify who is in need, and there is a lot of need out there, but also meeting people where they are and where they're interested. And looking at national agenda, because we're not ever about doing our own thing. So there's been a lot of success stories, and what's successful, we try and scale up from one island to the next and just ensure we have the right partners at the table. Right, Keith?
Thank you, Haiti. Keith, I want to go back to you asking, you're a banker. You're the CEO of JMMB Bank, one of the leading financial institutions in Jamaica. But as the co-chair of Project STAR, which has also done tremendous amount of work in Jamaica, how do you measure the long-term success of these social interventions? What matrix, what should we use to demonstrate that investments are made correctly into mental health, education, employment, technology, youth empowerment to reduce crime? What are the matrix are you using to know that whatever money or effort being spent is actually being is creating some value for the society?
Thank you, Deshant, and good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be here and with this esteemed panel. Welcome to Jamaica, sir. Good. So, let me just start by saying, before I jump into our evidence-based, data-driven approach and how we do monitoring and evaluation and learning, I would like to basically speak to why we are here as a country. And, having achieved some level of macroeconomic stability, and I myself working with members of the financial sector and other members of civil society unions, etc., through the Economic Program Oversight Committee and through other means, have worked very hard to achieve this level of macroeconomic stability. Now, the Planning Institute of Jamaica has identified over 100 communities that they have defined as vulnerable and volatile. Governments of Jamaica over the years have had some kind of, placed some kind of effort around social interventions, economic interventions in communities, but these have been under-resourced. These communities have become marginalized, and these communities where a lot of the dysfunctional behavior and crime emanate from. So, over the years, as I said, as the spokesperson and national security spoke to their efforts, also the current government of Jamaica, in their crime strategy through Plan Secure Jamaica, has a pillar called the social transformation. So they have several pillars. They have the crime prevention, and social transformation is a key pillar. I think the government of Jamaica sought to kind of reinvent themselves and how they approach social transformation. As having achieved macroeconomic stability and wanting to see develop human capital development is important. And we saw the Education Transformation Commission do some work. We saw that we could provide some support, and I was president of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, and I said, let us put some focus around social transformation, having been exposed to these communities through work that I've done through during COVID in these communities. And we put together a really strong team, technical team, to work on socio-economic transformation, but in an integrated model. Right? What we find is work occurs in pockets and in silos across communities, but there's not. We believe the work can be more integrated. That is true. The social pillar, economic pillar, and through, most importantly, it has to be owned and led by the community. Right? So, with the social work includes your social cohesion, youth and sports, and it includes social protection. The economic includes job training and placement, micro-entrepreneurial grants, etc., empowering, economic empowerment of the communities. Because you can't have social without economic. But it must be led and owned by the communities. And you have to have strong community governance with the communities developing their plans, owning their plans to drive change in their communities. Right? Because if it's not, then. But you have to have data, and you have to have evidence, and you have to have a strong monitoring and evaluation and learning framework. And you have to have those key performance indicators that you manage across those 3 pillars to ensure that there is engagement. What has also been lacking over the years is that there has been weak male frameworks. So from the outset of Project STAR, we determined that we need to have this in place. And we have all the data. And we can tell you how many people have been engaged across the community. I mean, if you want me to reel off some data,
No,
I can.
Keith, in the interest of time, I would go back to the center of the question. What are the key metrics do you use to measure success?
Okay, so along the side of the pillars, there would be, let me say, so there would be community action. Community action. So 3,577 residents across 5 communities have contributed to their community transformation plans. So therefore the community is taking ownership of its growth challenges. So that's one. The youth engagement, right? Summer camps, 238 children being engaged. And what are the results? 94% of children reported that they learned new skills, and 91% reported feeling included, right? Children and parents, rolling out parenting groups, rolling out 4 parenting groups that impact 205 residents and indirectly 850 members
I'm sure
of
it'll be
households.
a very long list from here.
Employment, so therefore data-driven, evidence-based, and learning as you go.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. Gurudev, I have a question for you. We have a huge problem in the society now. There is excessive surveillance on one side, where wherever you go, there are cameras, there are something is following you everywhere now. Now, that is required because that also aids in reducing crime. But at the same time, it becomes a question whether it is intruding too much into privacy and intruding too much into our civil liberties. On one side, all this tech can become a crime-fighting tool, and another side, it can be a full invasion of privacy at the same time. How, as a country, as governments, as individuals, we should look at it?
Well, with respect. If we don't respect individual space, then we can't call ourselves democracy.
Fantastic.
We can't call ourselves a civilized society. So, that need to be done, number one. Second is more social interaction will also, from the other side, will reduce the anxiety of intrusion by someone else into our space. Because see, you don't want to share your space with someone whom you don't think they belong to you, or of whom you feel they are part of it. If there is more and more community feeling, community life, then people don't feel intruded, and they voluntarily share what they have with everybody. And this voluntarism is something that is very, very important in any vibrant society. See, whenever there is an issue, whether it's a hurricane or a crime issue, the community comes together to give solace to the people who are affected by it. And so, there is more sense of belongingness, lack of which one will be even more paranoid about one's privacy.
Thank you, Gurudev. Dr. Blake, as a scientist and in the space of data, data analytics and predictive technologies can be used ethically to identify crime hotspots and implement them effectively for preventative social interventions. Are we there yet?
That's a great question. So thanks for that. Good afternoon, all. So absolutely, we are to leverage the technology that we have. Of course, we understand that, as was stated before, technology can be weaponized as well. So we have to be very careful whenever we are exploring these systems. But what I will say, chief to this discussion, and a lot of us might be hearing now about the Data Protection Act, for example, that we're now onboarding, we have consultants, etc., across the various ministries, departments, and agencies. And so that helps us to see how to treat with data. But even before we get there, I think chief to this discussion is to understand that anything that we're trying to predict, anything that we're trying to analyze and assess, it has to be from the perspective of being society-centered. It has to be whole of society. It has to be whole of government. And so when we look at data, for example, we cannot be looking at the data just to plan for communities. We have to look at the data to plan with the communities. And what we find is a part of this, and even mining the data, gathering the data, right? We go into the communities, for example, across West Kingston, Westmoreland, etc. We have within the Ministry of National Security, under the Citizen Security Plan, what we call these community data sharing meetings. Of course, we collect data there, and of course, the data is useful. For example, using the data from geospatial analyses, we're able to make predictions, we're able to map, we're able to see the trends over the quarters with crimes, hotspots, etc. But importantly, while we utilize this data, we ought to ensure that the data is growing feet, it's growing legs at the end of the day. We're not just collecting the data and letting it sit. We have to use it to inform decision making. So it can be useful. We ought to ensure that whatever we're doing is ethical, but we also need to ensure that whatever we do, what we're doing is targeted and tailored for the communities that we serve.
Thank you so much. Minister, I have one final question before we have Gurudev give us a keynote address. The youths now, how can we make them an active participant in all the policy making and community planning to foster a sense of ownership and responsibility towards social responsibility and local safety?
All right, thank you. And that's important. And I think where Keith was going, he was saying that in Project STAR, you have to do the community plans. It's very important that it's not us in a room developing the plans. And too often, in government, you stay in a nice office and you're detached from what is actually happening on the ground. And one of the things I've said to our young people, and there's some really brilliant young people in our country, is that, for example, in my ministry, every single board that's being appointed has to have a young person on it. That's the only way we're going to hear their voices, right? And they have valuable inputs to make. And as government, we have to listen to them more. They have to feel like they're a part of the decision making, because at the end of the day, the world we're trying to build is really for these young people. And they need to tell us what that world should look like. And we have to do a better job of hearing their voices. And they're actually really brilliant. And they have really interesting ideas. There are things that I never usually think about until they say it. And then you're like, yeah, why didn't I think about that a long time ago? So whatever we do, yes, we are trying to build a world for them, but let's ensure that they're a part of the policy making process, so they're a part of this world that we claim we're building for them.
Minister, thank you very much. Gurudev, I would like to invite you to give us a keynote address on crime prevention through social interventions. Thank you to the panelists. And the stage is yours.
You can stay on.
They want to see you, Gurudev.
No, you can stay on. Okay.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Well, I think you have heard a lot. Everything is already there. Everybody has said all that everyone else wanted to say, I suppose. We're all on the same page. I think my keynote is to share what I have. What I have is not too many words, but silence. In silence, you reflect what you have learned, and you digest what you have heard, and you intend to implement what you really know and what you want to do. So, prevention of crime can happen when we change the vibration. Neither at home nor in school we learn how to turn our vibration to something more positive. If you are angry, we were never taught how to come out of the anger, other than grandmothers used to say, go to the corner and count 10. Today, not 10, you count 100, even then the anger doesn't disappear. So, we forget that emotions cannot be changed by just thinking. It needs something more concrete. Here comes using the breath, because breath is the connection between mind and body. For every emotion, there is a particular rhythm in the breath. This only in the theatrical school you learn it. If you go to theatre, they'll tell you if you are angry, how you must breathe and express the anger. If you are sad, how you must breathe and express your sadness. If you are happy, you can't say, I'm happy. You can't breathe heavily and express happiness. You need to breathe a different pattern to express your happiness. This is inbuilt in our system, which we have not paid attention to. So meditation is the process where you understand your mind, you understand, and then you calm the mind, making use of your own breath. You can easily manipulate the rhythm of your breath, by which you can feel more empowered to feel the way you want to feel. You know, sometimes we feel bad and we say, wow, you don't know how to come out of that bad feeling. And this is the problem with kids who are violent. We have worked in these communities which are prone to violence in both United States of America. I'm sure we have done some work here also in Jamaica. And we have done in Europe. In Denmark, we have catered to 7,000 such gangsters, gang members of violent groups. In India also we have done, so far we have covered 850,000 inmates from various prisons across the globe. But it is 6,000 people whom we have trained just through breathing and meditation. You can see a tremendous change in them. The same people who used to walk around with a gun and create terror in the minds of people today are organizing medical camps. They're helping the elderly citizens go for shopping and help them out in so many ways, you know. It's really, it touches anyone's heart. Then in one sentence I would say, inside every culprit there is a victim crying for help. So we should not ignore the person and brand them as a culprit, as a bad guy forever in their life. We need to shake our hands, embrace them, listen to their problem and give solution. And that is where techniques like breathing and meditation are immensely beneficial. You know, in 2015, when United Nations declared International Yoga Day, Professor Ban Ki-moon was the chairperson, the Secretary General at that day, and I led them through a short meditation. You know what he said? The Secretary General said, Gurudev, we need this meditation before every negotiation. We would do much better in the world. And today, after almost 9 years, It's so heartening to see that the United Nations have declared 21st of December as International Meditation Day. So that's just a few days from now. The relevance of meditation today has been acknowledged by people all over the world. So, without saying too much, let's do a short meditation if you all, yeah. Let's sit comfortably, easily. We may reduce these lights. I always recommend M&M for everybody in the afternoon. You know, M&M means not the toffees you get in America, but meals and meditation. Share a meal with everyone and then meditate together for a few minutes. So, the clock is ticking here. I will lead you with a very short 5 minutes meditation. And then you can go for lunch. Yeah? Okay. Let's sit comfortably, easily. And close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath in. And breathe out. Another deep breath in. And breathe out and relax your shoulders. Become aware of your whole body. And become aware of the weight of your body. Whatever that is, 70 kilos, 80 kilos, 60 kilos. We came into this planet weighing just 5 kilos or 4 kilos. 7 pounds, 8 pounds. And today we weigh 140 pounds, 150 pounds. Honor your own body. Your body is the most precious gift to you by nature. And there are trillions of cells in our body. Let us bring our attention to this fact. 35 trillion cells form your body. Little more attention on your own body. And let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Like fish in the water, we are in air. It's the breath that is keeping our body alive. Let us become aware of the air all around us and inside of us. Let's take 5 deep breaths. Breathe in, hold the breath, and let go and relax. Breathe in, hold the breath, and breathe out and relax. Once again, let's breathe in and continue this. Become aware of the air all around you and above you. You have heard so much, so many words, so many sentences. Just let go of all that. Let's move on to the third dimension, the mind. Our body is like the wick of a candle. The mind is like the glow all around it. Become aware of the mind, the energy, the bioenergy our body, our brain is emitting. Whatever thoughts are coming in the mind, just let them come. Next couple of minutes, we have nothing to do and nothing to know. Let us empty our mind and relax our body. This is your time to rewind, rejuvenate, and reset your mission. Relax and let go. Now let's take a deep breath in with a smile and let go. And slowly and gradually become aware of your body and surroundings. Another deep breath in and let go. And you may slowly open your eyes. Yeah, was it good? It's just a very little sample. But in the evening we will do a real meditation.
Give it up for Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. Thank you so much, Guruji, for enlightening this afternoon for us. Esteemed panelists, thank you very much for coming, for sharing your views and thoughts. And the dialogue, how to prevent crime, must continue from here on, going throughout and trying new ways to find solutions to this problem all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. And a short invitation, as Gurudev mentioned, this evening, 6 p.m. at the National Indoor Sports Center. There is a public event with Gurudev himself again, with some beautiful music and meditation with Gurudev again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And panelists, can I invite you quickly to have a photograph with Gurudev, please?